I'm Edwin
And I am Jack, and welcome back.
to the 950 Club.
Chicka dance, chicka dance, chicka 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 dance.
And now for the second part of our summer review,
Yep.
where Jack goes into his vending machine corner.
My vending machine corner.
Which quick note comes from Toradora.
Yes. Inspired by Ami Karashima, her little corner where she used to hang out and, be away from the normies and the jerks.
That was haunted.
That was haunted. It's such a sweet and innocent corner. And yeah, they have the best exchanges in that show in that little corner. So it's a tribute to that moment in Toradora. So with that said, slice of life. Like I said, like I've been preaching, it's an ongoing education. It's one of those genres where it can sneak in other genres like comedy, like romance, typically those. However, the dramatic aspects of it and the mundane aspects of it are pretty much what shapes it up into slice of life.
Agreed, Jack.
And this year, for this season, for summer season, surprisingly stacked. To be honest, I wasn't hyped because I always treat summer like a pass away. I'll catch up with other shows. Blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
Quite the opposite.
Yeah, Jack. This season gave you a lot. Especially, it's like it gave you one of your favorite, a second season for one of your favorite
Yes.
slice of life shows.
Oh,
yeah.
My abusive one. Oh, okay.
You definitely have an abusive. This is a relationship.
Yeah,
yes,
it is. It's a long-term one, unfortunately. But anyway, it's one of those ones too that I like to get curious and go out of my range a little bit. And one that definitely could have been slice of life is Uncle from the Other World.
I can agree with that. I can agree. Though the basic setup is essentially just his life with his nephew now.
Yeah, and to the normal day in Japan, and during winter, very like bleak outside, so they hang out mostly in their apartment.
Yeah.
So it's a good change of pace in a weird way.
Well, they pretty much just sit around drinking coffee,
fresh coffee,
and
playing video games,
while they're watching Isekai.
Yeah. But yeah, that's overall. If I had to be, like we mentioned in our last episode, if I had to pick the genre, it is Isekai because of the elements are stronger and fold. So it's a deconstructive way of looking at Isekai. But anyway, the other ones pretty much are in this category more so than the spring season, because spring season and winter season as well, I kind of had to reach. I had to kind of reach for shows like Shenmue, which is, I wouldn't like, it's technically an adventure, action adventure, but it has elements where I wanted to highlight as slice of life. But this one, pretty much all of them are traditional slice of life. More an aspect with romance, though, I would say.
I can see that.
Yeah. So we could start off with our slice of life vending machine corner highlights. For the first one, I want to give a special shout out to 2 English dub versions of 2 shows we've talked about prior, and that is Sing Yesterday for Me and After Getting Rejected, I Shaved and Took in a High School Runaway.
Yeah, those 2, I've been watching both of those, actually. I've been watching the English dubs of both of those, and it's been a very different experience for me.
I was surprisingly after I shaved more, because when I initially watched it was like one of those turn off your brain ones, and I'm like, okay, it's kind of taboo.
Well, for that one, we watched that one, and we think we talked about it when we did when it came out that season. It was one of those shows where I think that we came up with a term called watch bait, and so it starts out one way and then becomes a completely different show.
And that's a swerve, and the creators are like, nah.
Yeah, it's like, okay, is this gonna be hentai
It's
or
gonna
is
be
it not?
taboo. It's gonna
Well,
be that other word.
it starts out like a taboo. It's like you think that this is gonna be a show about exploring a taboo when really it's a show about two people who have essentially kind of given up on their lives.
And
And
yeah,
yeah,
case point with the office workers working like a really hard job, and then the
well, he's kind of like on his way to becoming kind of like that burnt out salary man.
yeah, and he doesn't get the girl.
Hmm.
He's like, all right, I
Well,
guess,
he doesn't shave, he doesn't clean.
yeah,
He's kind of become slovenly.
but he's still a current. So
Yeah. And so it's at that point where he kind of confesses his love to his boss, and she's like, "No, dude, no,
and
you're
she's a 10 out of 10.
yeah."
He's a square.
He's like, "You don't take care of yourself. You're letting yourself go. It's like you're not putting any effort into yourself."
Yeah.
And so there he goes, and he finds this high school girl just sitting there.
Underneath a lamppost, not too far from his place.
Yeah.
And she's pretty much like on her own, and he can tell. And he's like, it's an inclination where he's like, you know what, you need somewhere to sleep for now. I'll do that. And
Yeah.
this is where it gets into taboo land. And
Well, she's a runaway teenager who's been using sex to
to get food, to
get
shelter.
yeah, food and shelter. And so she thinks that this is going to fly with this salaryman, and he's not having it.
Yeah.
He's not having it. He's like, you can't behave this way. This is not the way that teenage girls should behave.
Yeah.
And so she, with a firm hand, he kind of shuts that down. Even though she tries again and again, because she thinks that this is all that she has to offer, he shuts her down every time.
It definitely was a ongoing thing, and both characters, it's a show that introduces you to more characters you wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
It's a quite quick show, and the English is a-okay. And of course, we did a review on Sing Yesterday for me, and
Oh, Sing Yesterday. That was so good.
and the English is up to par. It's pretty dang good, and I was quite impressed because that cast, the original cast, is pretty dang good.
Yeah, Haru alone, her performance alone in the
English?
Japanese.
And in Japanese too.
Oh man.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
speaking of the devil, get this, Edwin. For Haru, her name is Jill Harris from the English dub. So I would give a special shout out to her. Not only has she done Nino in Quintessential Quintuplets, she's also Miyuki in After I Shaved.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So double whammy in both. Hey, gotta watch the English dubs, guys. But anyway, yeah, and that's a quick one right there because they're a little bit older. So for now, here on out, it's for this season, for the summer season, the slice of life stuff. Alrighty. Well, speaking of taboo, and speaking of watch me, because the title itself, I'm just gonna get the title out of the way. My stepmom's daughter is my ex.
Yeah. Yeah. There is an almost bait and switch.
A big
Yeah.
switch. A big
Yeah,
switch.
because you're thinking that, oh no.
Oh no, indeed.
What am I watching? Is this going to be another taboo show?
No, but
And it's really not.
from the first minute, because okay, you see the title. Okay, those people are like, it starts off very, very coy because it has a boy and girl. They're kind of like standing, not even looking eye to eye. They're in the middle of the house. It's kind of an empty house, and it's weird where they place it. I would have like assumed like outside or even like in a school. No, they put it inside the house. So they're definitely living together, and it's just like kind of things where they put on a face. Then once their parents are out of the picture, they're like, I don't want to be with you.
Yeah.
I don't want to be near you
Yeah.
because their parents got married, but they didn't tell them that they dated
Yeah.
before they got married. So
Yeah, it was I like this show. I like this show a lot more than I thought I was going to.
and it carries on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not I actually found myself laughing kind of hard at some of the moments that like I just kept thinking, what am I watching?
Yeah.
But there were moments where it was like they tease each other so mercilessly, and they're
especially in the first episode.
yeah, yeah, like there's definitely that sexual tension that they use to kind of like kind of like this is like a battle of the sexes.
In a way, but also the sexual energy is kind of like compared to like I'm trying to think of a good example of sexual energy.
It's not there.
It's
This
not
show,
there. But
no.
the thing that I'm trying to
This
get at is that they're
yeah.
trying to throw her out the window.
Well, this show doesn't really do what you would expect it to do.
Thus the title. It's an irony
Yeah.
play. Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually far more endearing and charming than like girlfriend.
Yeah, and a couple of cuckoos. I'm not crazy about that one.
Yeah, this doesn't while this it's a much quieter, much more charming show that I think that there are shows with far less harmless titles that do a lot more with like if you watch there's one that I really like, Orasaki, Are You the Only One That Loves Me?
It's a close comparison.
Yeah, that one's a close comparison, but that show definitely goes over the top with some of the explicit content.
Yes. Yeah, and this one's a little bit subdued, and it's
yeah.
also one where it sets up as a 180 each episode because the first episode is a setup.
Yeah.
Basically, they have this bet in order to solve their issue of the tension or like their history. They were born both on the same day. So formalities in Japanese culture with the older brother Oni-chan, in order to avoid that, they have to settle their differences over their place. So they settle a bet. So basically, the bet is whoever crosses the boundary over, like they're bringing up the history or showing their attraction, the one that does that loses, and they have to be the younger sibling.
They have to do what? Yeah, they have to do. They essentially have to do what the other one says.
Yeah. And it's one of those like plays, and it's not too important in my humble opinion, because like I said, each episode's a 180. The second episode is more like a high school drama where Yumi she wants to be a friend with a girl. It's a complete like weird turn, but that's how the show becomes a little bit more charming because it doesn't do taboo heavy crap.
No, it starts out like you said, watch bait.
Yeah.
This is like it's supposed taboo watch bait, but it becomes this, and I think that you could say that about How Not to Summon a Demon Lord with that title.
Now you know. Okay, because that's irony play because it's not exactly that.
No, but there's definitely with some of these titles, it's like you get kind of, and I don't want to get stuck on it because this show I think is far cuter and far more deserving of people's attention.
Yeah, we're just setting up because just jump over that hoop over the title.
Yeah, I think it's far more. I think it manages to do what it does a lot better than some other slice of life shows.
Yeah.
And it's a lot cuter. It's nowhere near as annoying as Girlfriend, and it's not as forced as a couple of cuckoos. Yeah, but it doesn't. It's not as memorable, I think, as like Horimiya.
No, it's definitely the one that it's my weakest for a reason because it's like I get it. Kind of thing. So.
Yeah, but I think that it deserves a watch.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, I highly recommend watching the show on the Crunchyroll app or the tablet because you can see the comments from each episode, and they're pretty subtle because they're making fun of the title, but you get titles like, "Hey, this is actually a pretty good show."
Yeah,
and like one of the comments is like, "What do you think the chances are that the friends are actually working together to hook the main characters up?"
You can see that. I can see that.
And then of course, it had to be this comment. I was laughing hysterically over this. I can't wait for the laundry episode. If you know that joke, I won't repeat it. There's many other jokes. Go have fun.
And it was there.
And it was there.
It was there. It was there. And it was awkward. But it's a very charming show. I think it's like if you're looking for something that's watchable and funny and charming and that is a little bit witty and more intellectual, I think, than some of these other shows. I think that you'll like this. The high school episode was a little bit of a
That's what I mean.
curveball.
It's 180. I think that's part of the thing. And that's the theme for the season, to be honest. Kind of like weird 180 episodes.
Well, because I thought, because of those episodes, I thought this was going to be an entirely different show.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of glad that it didn't go in that route. I'm
Yeah.
kind of glad that it went in the route that it did, where it focuses on the relationship between these two.
Yeah.
Because that's the ground. That's where I want it to stay. That's what I want to watch. I want to watch these two people that kind of like had this relationship, had the misunderstanding. It caused them to break up, and now they're left with they still have feelings for each other. And I want to see how that plays out, especially with these other characters that are coming into play. That's my main focus. That's what I care about. It's
Yeah.
like this struggle between the two of them, who they obviously have feelings for each other. What's going to happen?
Yeah. Good call,
Yeah.
man. So for my number 4, to Edwin's dismay, my number 4. When will Ayumu make his move?
I'm glad that made your list.
It made my list. It's
yeah.
good,
I love that show.
but it's relatively low.
I get, because it doesn't do much with its premise.
No, and it's, to be honest, it is the most straightforward romance I could think of in last couple of seasons. To be honest, even more so than Horror Me, or even more so than, I can't think of like ones at the top of my head. To be honest, like pretty much the whole premise is these two characters about to hook up. Even Heron-san.
I found it very similar to Heron-san.
Yeah, and my senpai's annoying.
But it doesn't. The thing with this show, it's what it is.
Yeah,
and it's very cute, and it does what it does very well. I especially like the side couple.
yeah, that's my favorite.
They're
They're better relationship. Yeah.
Well, it's so quirky and strange.
Yeah, basically the B couple, they hang out at the library all day compared to our main characters that do shogi all day.
Yeah.
The B couple, the girl likes the boy, and the boy is kind of like, he's all over the place. So in order to get him to focus, she hypnotizes him.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious.
And
Yeah.
he does her commands. So.
It's very cute. It's very harmless. It's something where if you like little romance shows that they go through the motions, where they have the Valentine's Day episode.
Yeah.
It's like, will they, won't they? They want to, and it's all very how do I put this? It's all very cute, but it's also like very frustrating for the main characters because they're so
They have convictions.
they get embarrassed.
That too.
They're very shy and
Yeah.
they get embarrassed, and so as they move, you watch them as they move forward and become more comfortable with each
Yeah.
other, and it's kind of like pretty much know they're going to end up in a relationship. I'm waiting for the rival. The rival just showed up in the last episode
and I'm
that I
not there
watched.
yet. I
Yeah.
saw the character on the listing. I'm like, oh, I haven't seen that. I
Yeah.
bet that's the rival.
So she's the rival for
Yeah.
the affections of the main character,
Ayumu.
and it's like, all right, she's here. What's going to happen? I understand why this is lower on your list, because I get it.
Yeah, and the premise is simple. Is these two
Yeah.
people? He used to do judo
Yeah.
kendo. My mistake.
Yeah.
He used to be a kendo champion, as a matter of fact. But he finds this girl. Her name is Uroshi Yaotome, and she's kind of small, kind of meekly.
He's smitten.
He's smitten though, and it's her demeanor. And she's the only person who runs a shogi club. He joins up, and he's not good at it all.
No, he's terrible.
Yeah, and this is part of the charm of the show. Basically, he has a conviction. He basically will confess of his affection towards her until he beats her in a game.
Yeah.
And irony play is that enforced because she wants him to confess, but she's so good at shogi.
Well, he keeps saying these ridiculous things.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about him, to be honest.
He keeps saying these ridiculous things where he obviously indicates that he's attracted to her, and that he likes her.
It's so dramatic.
And she's just like, what?
Yeah.
And she just turns beet red and is embarrassed.
She is cute when she's embarrassed, but he has that moment where like, oh, I will savor these words forever. And she's like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't get much development.
Compared to like Raito from Heron-san. I like Raito more, to be honest, because Raito is kind of like, he definitely fits the tone of the show.
Well, I think A Heron-san is one of those shows that we're actually going to have to do an episode about.
Okay.
Because the more shows that I watch after it, the more I keep thinking about A Heron-san.
Very fascinating. Okay, fair. Even more so than my senpai, because I think mine's senpai because of the orders released.
Well, my senpai will have to do an episode about it too, because I think that's a show that deserves more attention.
All right, we'll do both.
Yep. So, what's your next one?
Or before we do that, I just want to mention that they do shogi, and that's Japanese chess. And if you ever want a quick recap of it, it's pretty much like chess, but with more pieces. We're talking about golden generals, silver generals, knights, and lances and pawns.
Well, actually, if you read I read a few volumes of the manga.
Yeah.
If you read the manga, they actually go. The creator goes a lot more.
Yes, with the rules.
Yeah. And with the rules and the moves,
yeah,
it's really interesting.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things where even I'm looking at the rules. Like, for example, there's no castling. If you're familiar with chess, like castling is a key move, and games are faster. They're technically longer than chess, but there's no draws, so that's very effective. So it makes me want to join a shogi club instead of a chess club.
Go for it, man.
Alrighty.
What's your next one?
For my number 3, another surprise. My number 3. Rent-A-Girlfriend.
How did that end up as your number 3? That is one of your favorite slice of life shows.
Not my favorite, but it's definitely the most effective. I would do admit that. If I had picked the most effective show, it's this one. However, the reason why it's number 3, and we have to elaborate a little bit. I did get some comments about how to do my rankings, and I do admit that. I have to clarify a little bit. Usually I rank them by surprises, like a show that generally surprised me, not expecting. I usually get that higher because of the exposure and usually of the energy that builds with it. Rent-A-Girlfriend is definitely one of the best ones of this season. Definitely, it's in my personal top 5 for the season itself. However, it's one of those shows where, because of the seasons, they definitely have at least one more season. It's a transitional season.
For me, this season had a lot of strong moments.
It's better than the first season, too.
I agree.
Yeah.
This one, I mean, it might be a transitional season, but for me, it was stronger.
Yeah. The themes are more apparent, less on the jokes. Like, you get the jokes at this point.
Well, I think the show has always been for college students and above.
It's a perfect one, and it's a rare one too.
Yeah. This show is for people coming into adulthood or people in adulthood.
Yeah, and a little bit of a taboo play because yes, the concept of prostitution it's out the window.
I mean, I don't think because we're here in the States. It's not something. It's something that people will focus on.
Exactly.
But I think in Japan, I don't think it's taboo.
It's just one of those things where it's a service, and it's one of those things where,
because of the situation, like the marriage situations over there, with the situation over there where so many young men aren't getting married, marriage isn't as prevalent as it was before in Japan.
It's tougher now, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that you're gonna see more of this stuff, not less. But like I said, for me, this season, and this wasn't one of my favorite shows because I felt that the main character for me, there were moments where, like, I know you love this show, Jack, but there's moments where the main character,
I begrudgingly love it though. It's a complex. It is, man, because I relate a lot with the main character. With Kazuya.
He gets so annoying sometimes.
In the first season, he does. In this season, he's a little bit more of his form. Like, you get his rationale.
You could see him growing in this season, whether he thinks, because he calls himself a loser at one point. I'm like, no, I didn't agree. I was upset because I felt that, no, he may have put himself into this situation, but I think he's done the best with it that he could.
Especially in this season.
I think that given that he got a raw deal with Mami-chan and,
for setup, Mami-chan's one of the 4 girls that are in Kazuya's world.
Yeah.
And it's her ex. The first episode, she dumps him. It leads to a little, it leads to a path where he decides to do a renting service. He rents the best one of the bunch, Chizuru, Edwin's girl. Hey. And she's the pro, and he is infatuated by her. He turns out to be like a top customer of hers. And he's very formal. He's not aggressive. It's one of those things where a sense of like, this is becoming more of a problem, because of his insecurities and stuff.
Well, they get into all kinds of misunderstandings and like...
It's all play for laughs. It's comedy straight up at the end of the day.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially the first season. The first season is played for laughs. You get more of his friends, more of his family, and they get into these awkward situations where it's like, okay, let's lie, but then they have to keep the lie
Well, the
going.
big lie being that he has to have a girlfriend for his grandma.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it turns out Chizuru also has a grandma. She has to stick with him as well.
Yeah. The thing I like about this show, at first I thought to myself, oh, this is gonna be a harem show. It's gonna have all these girls in his life. And the thing that this season showed to me was that, yeah, you do have women in your life. You have your ex, you have your current girlfriend,
And friends too.
and you have friends.
Yeah.
And at his moment, he's not really dating. Well, he has his quote unquote girlfriend and Ruka-chan, but that's more that she has a crush on him.
Yeah.
Where he has feelings for his next door neighbor, who is, his rent girlfriend.
His actual rent girlfriend, yeah.
Yeah, who he's pretending to be in a relationship for the sake of his grandmother. And it's not actually a harem. It's just it's life. It's a slice of life.
It's a breakdown. It's a total breakdown of harem as well.
Yeah.
But it's also one of those things where it's oddly relatable and oddly like
it becomes like this season. It became I related with it way more because they really focus on the characters this season and what the characters are going through.
It goes by the motions similar to the first season, but it builds up to something. I get it now.
Well, this season I felt was a lot more emotionally complex than the first season.
Yeah.
Especially with everything that's going on and watching their struggles, mainly hers.
Yeah.
As she tries to
become an actress.
Yeah. He's kind of like, he's trying to figure himself out and figure out what he wants from life. And that was kind of cool to watch. It was, there were still some awkward, annoying moments, but I felt that he was, like you said, far more relatable this season than last season.
Yeah. And of course the strong suits for the first season. I won't spoil too much if you haven't caught up. We caught up, like we mentioned in our last episode, up to 10 episodes or so.
Yeah.
Because the seasons are not done yet as of this recording. All I can say is that Edwin's girl Chizuru, she plays chess. She's a pro. However, my favorite girl, Ruka-chan, she plays 3D chess. But the best character of them all, Sumi, she plays 4D chess. And Sumi is the best character ever. I'm sorry.
Oh.
But if I had to choose, it would be Ruka. Jack, you're the one that's harem building, yo.
Yeah, pretty much, Jack.
Well, Edwin's also with Chizuru, and that's his homegirl.
No comment.
No comment.
Your next one up, Jack.
Number 2. I'm like, I had to be giddy with this one because it was like, this is a goddamn it moment. Like, right as I saw the first couple of us, I'm like, God damn it.
You were hooked, huh?
I didn't expect to be hooked. The Yakuza's Guide to Babysitting.
Yeah.
Let me tell you of a gem that's not praised enough. It should be praised just like Spy Family. My whole opinion.
I agree. I will say that I feel that this show is actually more coherent than Spy Family.
Yeah. And it definitely has Spy Family surprisingly doesn't have like 180 moments. It's definitely more of a like situational like burn kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, mini arcs essentially. This one's like 180. But for the right reasons. Compared to my stepmom's daughters, my ex, those 180s are very apparent and very noticeable. This one's like, okay, they're definitely playing along with it, but it's also kind of charming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because in the first episode, we meet this Yakuza. His name's Toro Kirishima. And he's a beautiful baddie. And he's affiliated with the Yakuza. He's the main guy. He's like, you do my jobs. And it turns out his next quest is to watch his Yakuza boss's daughter, Sakuragi Yaika. She is a cutie. She definitely needs all the help in the world because her mom, unfortunately, is in a coma. Yakuza's boss wife. And, she's a preschooler or a toddler, a first grader. Definitely early education student. And all he has to do is just walk her to school and walk her back. Nothing more. Like, he doesn't expect him to be like a super nanny, but it turns out to be he's becoming more of her best friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very endearing. And it's one of those shows because the first episode is a nice little setup. Like, she's supposed to have an orientation, but her dad can't do it because he's a big time Yakuza boss. And she's missing her mom, and you can see it in her eyes kind of thing. And yeah, she's drawn like the cutest character you can think of. Kind of like, we get it. Kind of emotion, but you really feel for her.
You really do. This show kind of caught me off guard too.
Yeah.
because I wasn't sure. I was expecting the laughs, and the laughs are there.
I wasn't. I was expecting more of like, yeah, this is what we're doing. Yeah.
Well, I expected it to be. I expected it to be completely and totally for laughs. I expected absolute ridiculousness,
Okay.
and no, this is a. It's there's a balance between the humor and the charm
Yeah.
and the edginess. Like this guy's when they say he's Yakuza, they're not doing that just for in a show. What I thought we were gonna get is like a show.
Where you were the household husband?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Where they say he's a Yakuza and everybody's scared of him, but you don't see those parts.
No.
Where he's like, you just go and like, okay, this is what's happening here, and that's it.
Yeah.
But they, honest to goodness, are like, yeah, this guy's a Yakuza. These are family members. They're gonna get into fights.
It definitely shows the dynamics.
And he is, he's a very broken person. Kirishima is very broken, and he is very violent.
Surprisingly. And it's one of those things where I like how they set it up because, of course, with the OP, for example, it's like la 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 la, and even the closing too is like very sweet and subtle. No. Like even with the funny episodes, like the Team Cherry episode,
Team Cherry.
Once you watch that 4th episode, let us know, comment it, because that's an endearing episode.
That was hilarious. Yeah.
Basically, his emotions are at play, and it turns really dark at one point. I'm like, huh. It's kind of creative how they did that because it's such a ridiculous episode, but they have that one moment. No, this is what's up with this guy.
The episode that we're talking about, Team Cherry, is actually a dream that Kirishima has.
Yeah.
Where they become a worldwide. The boss tells them, "Look, I want to get into this streaming stuff because it'll make the family more popular," and they do it, and it's absolutely ridiculous.
Extremely.
They become a worldwide sensation as a singing group, and it's all in his head. But the fact that they could do an episode like this is
in a show like this.
Well, it's due to the respect they established. They could do it. They could get away with it because of the credibility that they established in the first few episodes.
Yeah.
It's like, this is a show about a Yakuza family. And I say family because
it's legit.
The head, Kirishima, what probably would have happened to Kirishima is that if this had been a movie, they would have killed him.
Yeah.
They would have killed him. They said, this guy's too dangerous. We need to either lock him up or we need to kill him.
Too much of a wild card.
Yeah, he's too much of a wild card. But because they took him in as a,
like a stray dog, yeah.
They took him in like a stray dog, but at some point he became a member of the family. And instead of like, we have to get rid of this guy where they would do in a movie, it's more like, all right, we care about this guy. He's a part of the family. How do we redirect his anger and make it into something more constructive? And that's where babysitting, the boss's daughter, that's what they decide is going to work. This is what's going to make him more responsible. And over the course of the season, it's what makes him more human.
Yeah, good call. Yeah. Very good elaboration because at first glance, like I said, it's just like I'm not crazy about Yakuza anime. Yeah, like the Wayward or the Household Husband. I'm not crazy about that one. And the premise itself, I'm like, because Yakuza is a nasty business, let me tell you. But this one, they definitely do it like a sense of like the danger. There's funny moments with Yakuza, of course. The henchmen are hilarious.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and his friend in crime too. He's kind of a charming guy too, and they're both gorgeous guys. But the thing is that it's still a Yakuza. And like Edwin said, it's definitely kind of things where you kind of have to look outside the box. But the inner box is very special.
Yeah, his relationship with the little lady, that's the core of the show.
Yeah, he even mentions that, or what's the line? Because this show has excellent one-liners. If I'm entering this little lady's life, that means she's entering my life.
Yeah.
Lines like that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the funny moments, like Team Cherry, there's an episode where they adopt a cat, and the cat breaks a ceremonial cup, and the henchmen are like, shit, we're gonna die.
The boss is gonna kill us.
So they're apologizing, and they're
like, please forgive us.
And the Sakuragi kind of like looks, and the boss sees his daughter with the bright eyes, like, and the boss has his tone, it's Yakuza, and you're like, these guys are gonna die. And the Yakuza boss is like, Just don't do it again.
Yeah, he's like, I can't.
It's one of those things where like, okay, once you see it in motion, you'll get it.
It's the balancing that they do. It's a very sophisticated and complicated show. You're just the premise. They managed the writing, the dialogue. They managed to give you a more sophisticated and more sentimental show with real like stakes and emotion than I thought. That because what they're doing is they're exploring the relationships between this man and this girl, and not only that, but the other characters who have left and what their priorities and focuses are in life.
Yeah.
Which I think is really cool because it's an examination of life and what it means to be a father, what it means to be in someone's life, what that means to like take that responsibility on.
Yeah.
And so you get amongst the humor, you get those complicated, interesting questions that I was not expecting at all. And it became it's in my top 5. It's one of It's one of the better shows, I think, that came out of this season.
Oh, yeah. Genuine surprise. Definitely the most surprising of the bunch. And now, my number 1 in the Slice of Life vending machine corner, Call of the Night.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not perfect. In fact, the last 2 episodes 9 or 10, are kind of like, okay, I get it kind of thing. However, they're effective. They're still effective episodes. Because the whole season, like we've been mentioning this whole episode about, with the slice of life aspects of it, what you reflect on. And this is the strongest indication of it, because it's not only what you're focusing on, but what you notice the character's not focusing on. That's the best way I can describe it, because this is definitely a character study in the sense of like this person's trying to figure out not only himself, that's pretty much set in stone, but also how he interacts with people, technical aspects of it. So the premise is that this boy, his name is Ku Yamori, he's pretty much a dropout. He wanders around at night. He has insomnia. Not sure if it's like will intended, but it's one of those things where he just doesn't care anymore. He's lost. He's essentially like a drop off of life in general. And he meets this weird looking pale girl that's just on her own. She turns out to be a vampire. Yes, I was setting up like a traditional slice of life. It sounds like without the vampire aspect, that's what you get. Like a guy just lost in his own. Similar to Sing Yesterday for me, where the main character is just trying to find his way. And he has to find that reflection in the weirdest places. But anyway, Ku pretty much is enamored with this girl. From seeing her, essentially, he's like, I'm going to be with this girl. But is it for the right reasons? Because that comes into play more because the girl Nazuna Nakakuza, oh man, she is a wild card.
She's a handful. Yeah,
she's a handful, and it turns out Ku also wants to be a vampire. Careful what you wish for.
Yeah. I have a lot of things to say about this show. I mean, a lot of things to say about this show. Because I read a few, I read a few volumes of the manga.
And you hyped me up. I was like, at first I thought it was like a cyberpunk kind of thing, kind of silly. But no, straight up, it's better than Twilight. Everything's better than Twilight. But this is the example to read instead of Twilight.
Well, let's not get into the movies, but I did enjoy the first Twilight book.
Fair.
The book. I'm not going to talk about the movies.
All right. All right.
Why sparkly vampires? Why did you bring up the sparkly vampires?
No, because that's the closest comparison. Vampire in Love. That's pretty much like even more so than Dracula.
No,
yeah.
This show, it does some things. It takes the material of the manga and turns it into something else.
Yes,
it absolutely is. This show is kind of like a love letter to the manga, and it is amazing. Creepy Nuts.
Oh, yeah.
Their opening and closing, those songs, this is usually Jack's area.
It is.
He focuses on the music.
I love it.
I think that this is my favorite opening of the season and my favorite closing because they do so much with that opening and that closing to establish what's
the mood.
The mood?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I can't even begin to tell you how impressed I was. Like, the manga was okay. I liked it. I thought
I like the anime more.
The anime, the mood setting for the anime is transformative for the show.
That's what I mean. Yeah,
I
it feels
mean,
like it too.
it's insane. That opening song, that closing song, it's I'm gonna get into this. Is not gonna be I'm telling you right now, this is not gonna be child appropriate.
But
So we're gonna have a conversation about I'm going for it because this was gonna be on my top 5. Jack brought it up as his number 1 slice of life for the show for the thing.
Yep.
So I'm gonna get into a conversation here that might not be appropriate for all listeners of all ages.
Listener advice.
So you all have been advised.
Yep.
So what the songs do is that it makes the night sexy. It makes this show, and that's what this
the
show.
wild side.
Well, it gives you kind of like this energy, this like sexuality that the manga that doesn't come across as strongly in the manga.
I described it as pretty much like a romance, like a love triangle thing too.
Well, the manga does that. This show, it gives the night this energy and this sexuality and this sexiness.
Yeah.
That the manga can't do because the manga doesn't have the opening song and the closing song.
Yeah.
And it's that energy that leads you into the show. And you have Ko, who is absolutely just doesn't get it. He doesn't understand the waking world.
And how you're uploading with the music and stuff, but the sexiness of the night, it is alluring. It is meditative, and
it gives you this kind of like this thing that doesn't always come across with Nazuna.
Yeah.
Is like, yeah, her outfit is sexy and like she teases him.
She's technically a succubus, yeah.
Yeah, she is. And that's where I think the opening and closing give you that sexuality that sometimes she's lacking.
Yeah.
Because she is
very reserved.
She's a very reserved, and she she cringes at the idea of romantic love.
In intimacy,
to her, yeah, it's cringy. And it's like, it's hard to do a vampire show that gives you that sexiness when the vampire who's supposed to be seducing him is kind of like, can't.
Yeah. And the original Dracula is succumbed into incubus territory, like a seducer. Yeah. A silver-tongued, charmer. Yeah. And lures you enough to bite the neck. And part of the dynamics of the show is the setup of vampire lore.
Yes. And so that's what the opening and closing do.
Yes.
It kind of seduces you with its energy and it's the lyrics and the rhythmic music. It's kind of like you're going to like this show.
And the art too. The art's astounding.
This show is going to bite you and bring you over to it. And it does, because I'm like, I was blown away, but it's also, I don't know if I'm giving a little bit too much credit.
No, that's what I'm trying to get at. Ultimately, because of the setup, you get this high energy. You're in for adventure. It's one of the best things you'll ever watch. It's isolated, though. The night is the night. You're like, nobody's awake besides these characters. Even the rooms they're in, they're very spacious, and how it's set up with the direction, at least art direction. I mentioned this last year with the new Neon Genesis movie, where the background is more of the character. You get to see the character small.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You get to see the character small. They're definitely trapped. They're definitely like, I am not having a good time, but I'm trying to have a good time.
Well, because there are two characters. He's a 14-year-old boy.
Yeah.
And she's a vampire.
Immortal, technically.
She's an immortal vampire who is essentially a succubus, but finds all of these succubus activities to be cringeworthy.
Yeah.
It's like she'll feed, but does she want to really seduce them? No. And so what happens is that the show seduces you, and then you're into the world of these characters where here they are starting to explore those aspects of themselves, whether it be their sexuality or whether, be a metaphor for the sexuality. For Ko, it's more about figuring out what it means to love somebody, what it means to like somebody.
Yeah, relationships in general.
Yeah, to figure that kind of stuff out. And he's disillusioned with like the waking world. And so it's this night world that really is his kind of like his bursting out into like the world.
Yeah.
Like this is his introduction to the world, and it's a sexier, more like
But ironically quiet. Ironically, you're alone. The loneliness is sexy.
well, the loneliness is I think that's a representation of his inner world.
Yeah, what he's dealing with.
For both of them. It's like it's a representation of his inner, of their inner world where they are alone. She's a vampire. She doesn't have friends.
Well, the part of being a vampire too is they have to fall in love with one.
Yeah. Well, her social circle is essentially this group of girly vampires
that devour.
Who, well, they talk about, girl talk. They're dishing the tea.
Yeah.
And Nazuna is just like not having it. Neither of them are normal.
To say the least.
To say the least, Ko and Nazuna, they're not normal people.
I'm not crazy about Ko, to be honest.
Well, he's 14. Well, I mean, what do you want from him?
No, it's more of a sense of like, it's just dynamics. Let's put it that way.
He's trying to figure himself out. And that's one of the things that I like about the show a lot. And it works a lot more within the context of the anime than it did within the context of the manga for me.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, so yeah, I could see why this is your top one.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's more of the aesthetics. Like what you see definitely is more what you engage with, and it's definitely one of those rare slice of life ones where this is what it is.
Yeah,
and then, you get the stupid vampire stuff. I'm not crazy about that, to be honest. It's gorgeous, how they fly and stuff. That's cool. But man,
I think Call of the Night is about two people who are not normal and who are trying to have a relationship when they don't understand relationships.
Exactly. And it builds up with more characters introduced. One childhood friend that, hey, they could have been, normal if he would have gotten the picture.
Yeah. Well, Call of the Night is the Call of the Night.
Yeah.
And what's what are you going to find out there at night?
Yeah.
You find the predators and the vampires. Now, whether that's a metaphor for prostitution or not, I don't know. Because she does offer massage services, so there's a lot of like questions and innuendo in this show.
And vampires are succubuses at the end of the day, and incubuses.
Yeah. So Call of the Night, it's like they're sexy. It's the sexiness, the sexy nature of it.
Yeah.
But I could have an entire conversation about whether or not the complexity of that closing and some of the things that it hints at and suggests at. It's like, whoa.
The lyrics especially.
Yeah, it becomes kind of like, wait, who's supposed to be watching this? Because there's moments in there where I'm just like...
It's a slow burn one. And like I mentioned to Edwin before it premiered, I had a funny feeling it'd be like Spy Family, like a blow up. It hasn't really blown up.
You know what? I think over time, I've noticed that... Because I've seen way more cosplay.
Yeah, I was about to say, the cosplay's there. The ones that watch anime in general, you can tell. And they're like, they know what's up.
They get it.
Yeah.
It's
just like compared to Spy Family or even Jujutsu Kaisen, for example. Like, it's not like that sphere yet.
No, it's not that range yet.
Plus, it's on High Dive. High Dive is still kind of like climbing up.
Yeah. You have to go to another streaming service.
Yeah.
If you're doing Crunchyroll already and Netflix, then it's like, all right, you have to make another jump.
Amazon and that and this.
But
and that.
she's definitely becoming she's growing in popularity.
Yeah.
And I'm happy about that because that show's doing some sophisticated things that are very artistic in ways that I was not expecting at all.
Like I said, it literally reminded me of the Neon Genesis, the last redo movie.
Yeah.
And oh my God, that's like artistic lore. It's pretty much like the only selling point for that movie.
Yeah.
And they do the same framing. And it's almost like this might be the future, like the artsy way of looking at anime, but it's also like, I get it, especially for a slice of life, because that's, to be honest, I have yet to see that in any slice of life.
Yeah.
So
it kicked this show up a notch that I wasn't expecting. Like I liked the manga and I thought, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
We're getting a show. I'm like, I want to watch that. and it took it to a level that I was not expecting.
Yeah.
And that's why it's in my top 5.
For me too. And with that said, we're going to be transitioning towards our top 5.
Our top 5 of the summer season.
Thank you for tuning in to another great 950 Club session. Tune in next episode as we're going to have part 3 of our summer catch-up with our top 5 favorite shows of the summer season. And also, we're going to have a fall preview. Yes, 2022 anime fall season. Holy moly. It's a huge, huge season. And yeah, we're going to have the top tier shows we're going to be mentioning. And I'm going to be also sharing some of the manga that's coming out in the fall season. So it's going to be a pretty cool preview. So please check it in. Listen in on iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, and podbean.com. So thank you again and goodbye.